You must realize that a government foreclosure is a legal act. This little show you people put on here this morning isn't going to stop a wheel from turning. All I have to do is get a court order to have your machinery transported to another county for a legitimate auction. And that's exactly what we're going to do, Mrs. Ivy. There's no way to stop it.
Mister, you can take our equipment. Tomorrow you can come out here and you can haul off all our stock. But when you come out to pull us off this land, you better come with more than a piece of paper. Because we're staying. We're staying right here.
Now that's a strong scene, and that was Jessica Lange as a stubborn farm woman defending her own land and country. One of the movies we're going to be reviewing this week on At the Movies, the movie review program. Joining me here in the balcony, Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And across the aisle from me, Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. Now, in addition to country, which will also be the subject of our special X-ray segment at the end of the show, we'll also be reviewing the surprisingly serious science fiction comedy, The Brother from Another Planet. Also, Old Enough, the story of two very different teenage girls in Manhattan. But first, Roger begins with a new high school drama called Teachers.
Well, our first movie is named Teachers, and it's a movie with its heart in the right place, but its brain is totally out to lunch. This movie tells the story of an embattled big city high school where the teachers are burnt out, the principal is an airhead, and the students are into larceny, pregnancy, and unregistered firearms. As the movie opens, the school is being sued by a student who graduated without even learning to read. And in the office, the assistant principal, played by Judd Hirsch, is trying to deal with the school superintendent.
I'm in the middle of a fundraising breakfast, and I'm informed that your school psychologist has flipped out in the middle of your damn office. And then I get here and I find out there's been a stabbing. And if that's not enough, one of your kids tries to eat one of your damn teachers. Mr. Abel, what the hell do you call that?
Monday. Look, Dr. Burke, whatever happens here, I'm taking care of it.
Are you also taking care of the lawsuit here, too? You do know we're being sued, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do? Good for you.
Dr. Burke, I don't think you really...
I know. I understand your problem. All right? But you sure as hell better understand mine.
That's Lee Grant as a superintendent. One of the problems I had with her in this movie is that as an actress, she is so intelligent that she's not really convincing as such a pig-headed character she has to play. The hero among the school teachers is a 15-year veteran played by Nick Nolte. He once had ideals and once had vision, but lately he's into getting drunk and phoning in sick every Monday morning. Like everyone else, he has compromised. But then he takes a frightened young girl student to get an abortion, and the girl's friend, played by Ralph Macchio, says he'll repay him by returning a car he's stolen from another teacher.
Hey, Eddie. How about keeping the car and taking the reading class?
Hey, we're eating, man.
Oh, come on, Eddie. Knock off the dumb talk crap. You want to act stupid in class? That's fine by me if that's your act. But we both know you're not stupid. So give me a break. You're getting a chance here, Eddie. Take it. Sure beats the hell out of stealing cars. Take the class.
Now, who are you doing this for? Me or all this?
Doesn't matter.
All right, I'll take the class. You can keep the car.
Well, what the hell am I supposed to do with it? Just drive it up to the principal's office?
You're a teacher, man. You'll think of something.
I like that actor, Ralph Macchio. He was good in The Karate Kid earlier this summer. He's got a lot of moves and a lot of personality there. Really works in this movie. He's good in the movie. In fact, the movie is filled with a lot of good actors and with an occasional strong scene or an effective line of dialogue. Every once in a while, you have that feeling they got something just right, and the next scene they get it just wrong again. We never get the sense that this is a real school with real problems. It all seems machine-made in a screenplay factory. For every convincing teacher like Nolte, there's a cartoon teacher who sleeps through his classes, or a nutcase who's able to pass himself off as a teacher because all teachers are nuts anyway, I guess. The gags in this movie are so slick and so superficial they undermine the truth. And at the end of the movie, we get the single, most unnecessary, gratuitous, and embarrassing scene of the year when a good actor, Jo Beth Williams, is made to take off her clothes in a school corridor to convince Nolte that he ought to remain a teacher. I wonder what genius thought up that scene. Whatever was good in teachers is ruined by that cheap and trashy ending.
It's an awful ending, and it really is embarrassing. You feel very sorry for the actress there.
Yeah.
Here's the movie they should have made. We saw it in that second scene there, which is the story of Nick Nolte and Ralph Macchio told as the center of the story. Not a lot of gags around it. Doesn't have to be. You see, they had the core of something real here, and I guess the marketing people or somebody must have told them, make it funny or make it palatable. And that's because they didn't think that either young people or older people would stand for a serious story, and that's the only part of the film they're going to enjoy is that serious moment.
As I was watching this movie, I kept thinking that it was a 2-hour special to introduce a new series on television in which later on we'll have episodes devoted to the nut who turns out to be a teacher, the guy who sleeps through all of his classes. There were all of these strange cartoon characters who were shoveled in just like something out of a sitcom.
And two nice performances are lost, Nolte and Ralph Macchio.
Yeah.
Coming up next at the movies, thanks to some federal bureaucrats, Jessica Lange is about to lose her family's farm.
We're not going to sell the land. This land's been in my family for over 100 years.
Owe them the money. It's their money.
Who has vibrant greens, brilliant blues, the crispest reds, an incredibly lifelike sound? Only RCA. Introducing Full Spectrum Television, the only full stereo TV to process 100% of the audio-video signal. All the color, all the sound, all the time. Bringing the magic of life right into your living room. Full stereo, full spectrum television, only from RCA. Technology that excites the senses.
Some picnic. Even my chips are flat.
How about Ruffles potato chips?
Ruffles have that extra something more taste. That's why it is. Ruffles have that extra something more taste. Reach out to reach.
Those famous ridges, they're like flavor curves that give Ruffles brand potato chips extra taste.
These taste better.
Ruffles are ridges above the rest.
There's nothing like my slice and bake chocolate chip cookies and kids.
Oh, that poppin' fresh dough.
Cookies?
Baking up hot. Baking up slow. All those chocolate chips melting into it. Oh, that poppin' fresh dough.
Pillsbury slice and bake chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, poppin' fresh dough.
Presenting Showtime, cable TV.
We make excitement, Showtime excitement. You're gonna see TV with some real excitement. We make excitement, Showtime excitement. Applause, it's your magic card. We make excitement.
Our next movie, Country, is the second of the so-called Don't Lose the Farm movies this season. Only a couple of weeks ago, you'll recall, there was Sally Field in Places in the Heart. Now another fine actress, Jessica Lange, is threatened with losing her family farm after a federal farm administrator informs Lange and her husband, played by Sam Shepard, that they are falling behind in paying their federal loans.
What exactly are you saying?
I'm saying you're carrying too much loan debt. If you've got a fairy godmother or something to help you catch these loans up, terrific. Otherwise, I think you've got to partially liquidate them.
I don't understand this. Here we've been dealing with you people here for 6-7 years. You know what farming's like. I mean, we may have a couple of rough years, but it always comes back around. You can't look on this thing short term. I mean, hell, it's a way of life.
No, Gil, it's a business. Farming is a business. If you don't look at it that way, you're way...
I'll tell you who made it damn business. You college boys with your numbers, that's who made it a business.
Yeah.
What about all these people we owe? Huh? You tell me you're not going to release those funds out of that check to pay these people off?
That was the New York playwright Sam Shepard as the farmer. He's very convincing playing a country boy. He was very good a few years ago in Days of Heaven, doing the same kind of role. Theirs is not the only farm in trouble with the federal government, which apparently, at least according to this movie, wants to knock out the little farmer in favor of the big agricultural combine. Later, Jessica Lange helps another farmer that's in trouble with the feds. She helps hide his sheep from the government by letting the sheep graze on part of her farm.
What's going on here?
Oh, Joel, you keeping some sheep here for Arlen Brewer? It's a court order. I got to pick up Brewer's sheep. The one's right across the drive over there. See that gate? Back on up to that.
Well, I think we better just wait and give Arlen a call.
I don't have time. I got to take the sheep, Joel. They were pledged against his loans.
Well, now, Miss Mullen, this is our land. You can't just pull in here like God Almighty.
Now, Joel, I'd go on up to the house if I were you. You're already implicated in this thing.
Implicated in what? Now, I'm telling you, Miss Mullen, you're not taking those sheep without the owner say so. You better just tell your man to stop.
Brewer doesn't own the sheep anymore. We do.
Well, you say he doesn't own them. We'll see who owns them.
They belong to the SSA. He's been moving them around on us for weeks. Hide them. He's a thief, and that's what you're
Well,
going to
I'll tell you, I'd rather be a thief than do what you do for a living.
Oddly enough, I think the farm story is one of the least interesting aspects of this movie. That's because, just like Places in the Heart, this movie Country has a more spiritual side that's the most interesting thing in it. Both films are about people coming together for the greater good, neighbors getting together, strangers getting together. Both films are about the downtrodden joining hands and fighting against the establishment. Country is full of solid performances and bleak but stirring vistas of Midwest farmland, and I think the photography here really is one of the most interesting things about the film, one of the most compelling. As you look at this bleak photography of these farms, and you see the interest of the farmers, you think, this is a very special craft that they're involved in, because it doesn't look pretty, and yet they're so interested in it. This film only suffers, I think, because of the farm story. We're not exactly sure of how good a farmer Sam Shepard is, and maybe he bears some responsibility for losing his farm. Another thing, too, I probably would have enjoyed Country more if I had seen it a few months after I had seen Places in the Heart, rather than just a couple of weeks. By comparison, my preference is for Places in the Heart.
Well, I like Country very much, and I would not put it down because I had seen Places in the Heart. In fact, Places in the Heart to me comes from a very exotic part of the country, Texas, where people are cotton farmers and they talk funny, and to me it's more like a fable or more like a fantasy, whereas Country, shot right in the Middle West, comes right out from where I come from. I have friends and relatives who live on the farm, and when you talk about that farmland as bleak, I know there are a lot of people who would say that it was beautiful, especially if you could see the kind of yield that it could give.
Well, no, there's no question. I'm thinking of the shots, though, in the winter here. And this is what I think the film, more than her heroism, you know, she'll save the farm. That's a little bit pat, a little predictable. What you going to do? Walk away? They wouldn't make a movie about it.
Right, but that's why I can't understand why you say it's the spiritual side of the story and not the farming part that's important. I think it's the farming part. The spiritual side, all the people getting together and pulling for each other, that's predictable. That's almost, that comes out of 16 other stories. What I like about this is, for example, the opening shot where she's sending out hamburgers to the guys who are working in the field. The daily routine, the snow outside in the winter, the way they're trying to live off the land, that is so realistic and so compelling that it makes the movie worth seeing.
Then we are in agreement, because when I say the part I didn't like was the farm story, I'm talking about the federal government against the little farmer story. That's the part that I think is concocted. I agree with you. The natural shots of this farm in this movie are some of the best arguments for farming that have ever been made.
And one final point, Jessica Lange, fabulous. Along with Sally Field and Places in the Heart. We got a couple of great performances.
But these are easy roles for them to be good in. They're heroic roles.
You'd say it was easy until you saw somebody else trying to do it, I think. Next at the movies, the brother from another planet visits the strange and alien world of New York City.
Can you, like, point in the direction of the subway? He's right. That's where it is.
Creating the right person for mornings on G106 wasn't easy anymore. No, we had to have a quick mind, a glib tongue, and a good ear for music, because G106 means music. Here we go. At last, the moment has arrived.
Hi, John Landecker with the most music in the morning on G106, and Records truly is my middle name.
Success seeker John Records Landecker lives mornings on G106.
And that middle name's a nice touch if I do say so myself.
Jump on the merry-go-round of savings during the Great American Food Fest of National Brand.
Save more with Eagle Key Buy prices on Borden's Real Lemon Juice, a 32-ounce bottle, just $1.54. Weiler's Bouillon Cubes, a 25-count package, just 96 cents. and Eagle brand condensed milk. 14.5 ounces, just $1.26.
Join the big top circus of values going on now at Eagle Food Centers.
Meet Gilbert Roth. He's about to risk everything to grant his mother's one final wish.
I want to meet Garbo. She wants to meet Garbo. The Garbo?
It may cost him his job.
You were an hour late coming in.
His marriage.
I won't be part of this circus anymore.
And his sanity.
This is for Miss Garbo.
But after all, what's a son for? Garbo Talks. Rated PG-13.
Starts Friday at a select theater near you. Check newspapers for listings.
Don't miss Benson, starring Robert Guillaume. There's intrigue, mystery, danger, lots of surprises, big-time politics, and best of all, there's Benson.
From butler to budget director, it's Benson. Weeknights at 6:30 here on Channel 9.
Our next movie has a great title, A Brother from Another Planet, and the movie is as inspired as the title. The movie begins with an inspiration. What if a visitor from outer space, a visitor looked exactly like a black man if you didn't notice a few details like the fact that he has 3 funny toes on each foot? What if this guy were to zoom out of the sky and find himself in Manhattan? What would happen to him? And how would his adventures help us understand how funny and sometimes how tragic all of our human hang-ups and prejudices are? The movie stars Joe Morton as the brother from another planet, and in this scene, he meets some other visitors from out of town.
You know where the subway is? We're from Indiana.
That's right next to Illinois. Where Chicago is.
He knows that, eh?
Well, a lot of folks around here don't have a very clear picture of the Midwest.
Can you, like, point in the direction of the subway? He's right. That's where it is.
So, where are you from?
The brother from another planet has some strange magical gifts that he's been given by the civilization from outer space that he represents. For example, although he can't talk, he can read minds, and he can also repair broken video games by just touching them with his glowing right hand. He kind of keeps it like this most of the time. It's a weapon that could put video game repairmen out of work. The visitor can't talk, but he can understand and experience and empathize, and we can see the city through his eyes in this movie. We also see him through the eyes of New Yorkers who usually don't think he's any stranger than most of the people they meet on the street. So this is a clever, smart, unusual movie with a lot of laughs and a few very observant insights in it. I liked it a lot.
I liked it a real lot. I think this is one of the year's most interesting films. And, you know, this could have been played in a couple of directions. It could have been played just for laughs. Like, remember when we went through that whole thing where they were doing, like, black horror films?
Yeah.
This could have been played as a joke. Or it could have been played as a very heavy moral. And that's all it was. This film just jumped all over the place, and I liked every which way it went. There are some big laughs, as you mentioned, and at the same time, we see this city through another's eyes, and I like the whole picture.
There's another thing that's interesting about it. It was made by John Sayles, of course, an independent American filmmaker who made Return of the Secaucus 7 and Baby It's You. This time, using a relatively small budget, he made a strength out of the fact that this brother from another planet can't talk. That means that he is forced to find ways to make scenes pay off as visual comedy, as almost silent comedy, except that there are other people talking, there are street sounds and so forth, so that we get a whole different level of comedy in this movie than we would be accustomed to in a movie where everybody were communicating. It's a difficulty that creates comic possibilities.
You know, this film, I think, can be compared to Moscow on the Hudson, which we saw last year, which we both liked. I think this film makes just the same points about the immigrant experience. I think it's just as well. His performance is just as good as Robin Williams' performance in there. I don't think it's ever going to get the same kind of audience. It doesn't have the big push of a studio behind it. I really wish it would. I think this is a very good film.
Okay.
Our next movie is Old Enough, the story of 2 very different teenage girls in Manhattan, one rich and innocent, the other poor and, sadly, much too experienced. They meet on the street and they strike up a friendship. Now, these are legitimate characters, each with a distinct personality, nicely played, I think, by Sarah Boyd as the rich girl in Rainbow Harvest is the working-class girl. Unfortunately, the script forces these characters to play out extreme behavior, as in this high school dance scene where the rich girl has invited her newfound friend.
Do you want to dance? Who dances to this? Come on. Don't touch me. I want to dance. Come on. Don't you know how to dance? Listen, I was dancing before you were walking. Come on, I'll show you. Like this. Forward, back. Forward, back. What are you staring at? Don't worry about that. Come on, you almost got it. Hey, you trying to make me look like a queer slum? No. Forget it. I don't need it. Check you later.
It's hard to believe that queer line. I think that's just an overwritten joke for us in the audience. A lot of girls dance with girls, and nobody thinks that they're queer. There aren't any boys around. They're all too shy. There are many, many examples of this sort of phony cute moment in this picture, including scenes where the rich girl is unbelievably naive. She's never seen television or something. She doesn't have any understanding at times about how people relate to each other. And then there are other scenes of mistaken identity in the film that I think just could have been caught a lot sooner, and it would have been a more credible picture for it. This is all a shame, because these are two very engaging performers in this film, Sarah Boyd and Rainbow Harvest. Rainbow Harvest. Maybe there's a hippie in her parentage someplace. And so Old Enough is one of those movies where, as I've said before, it probably would have been a lot more fun, a lot more illuminating about teenage life, just to have eavesdropped on a conversation between these two young actresses over lunch. They're smarter than the characters they play.
I don't think so. I think that these two girls actually created a lot of their own lines and their own dialogue through improvisation, and that they're a whole lot like the characters they play, and that a lot of this movie is like eavesdropping on their conversation. I also think you missed the boat on this scene, because the whole idea is that Rainbow Harvest, who would probably be very much at home at a disco, is in this preppy Saturday morning dance class where they're dressing up like that and dancing to the waltzes, so of course she feels out of place. And of course they would use the word queer. That's a cult word among young teenagers.
I'm sure that at the disco, that girls dance with girls when they can't get a boy to dance. But let's get beyond that.
I'd like to go to that disco.
I think that the key here is that I was watching two engaging performers play two wildly drawn extreme characters. The smart one, you know, it's the old variation on the city mouse and the country.
Smart. They're both real smart. They're smart in different ways. They teach each other what the other one doesn't know.
And Roger, as I watched them, I knew they already knew what they were teaching. I saw a totally phony concoction, because these girls already know. You can see it in their eyes.
That's because you were 13 too long ago. This is a movie.
And you weren't? You're older than I am.
What I'm trying to say is that this is a movie about people who are 13 now, and so they don't know everything that you know now.
No, I think 13 is 13 for time immemorial.
Well, in that case, we disagree. Next at the movies, a look at 3 new American films about families who try to hold on to their farm.
Don't tear me down. All I got was growing in these fields.
Do you have a cat box odor problem?
No. Yeah.
Then try new Fresh Step cat litter.
Fresh Step?
A whole new kind of cat litter. Fresh Step is the only litter activated by your cat's touch.
Wow.
Tiny odor controllers are released every time he scratches or steps.
So Fresh Step freshens with every step.
Right. Has Fresh Step controlled the odor problem?
Yes. Yes.
New Fresh Step. It freshens with every step.
Meet Gilbert Roth. He's about to risk everything to grant his mother's one final wish.
I want to meet Garbo. She wants to meet Garbo.
The Garbo? It may cost him his job.
You were an hour late coming in.
His marriage.
I'm not moving part of the circus anymore.
And his sanity.
This is for Miss Garbo.
But after all, what's a son for? Garbo Talks. Rated PG-13.
Search Friday at a select theater near you. Check newspapers for listings.
10 years ago, I thought Tab was something you had to drink. You go on a diet, you go buy Tab, like it or not. But now Tab's got NutraSweet Blend. I know NutraSweet's everywhere, but in Tab, it tastes terrific. It's crisp, refreshing. It's really satisfying. If you haven't tasted new Tab, you gotta try it. Do, and you won't drink Tab because you have to. You'll drink Tab because you want to.
學過嘅喎，佢哋全部咧都係 United States。
Chicago, Los Angeles, Boston, Massachusetts.
United Airlines can take you to the Far East from more U.S. cities than any other airline.
New York.
United Airlines to Tokyo and to Hong Kong. Fly a friend to the Far East.
You're not just flying.
美麗，
Toledo, Ohio.
You're flying the friendly skies.
This fall, all of Chicago will be watching some old friends and new faces here on Channel 9. Weeknights at 5. Ann Romano and family, living life the only way they can, one day at a time. At 5:30, the ever calm and tranquil dwellings of the Jeffersons. At 6, New York's finest and funniest, Barney Miller. At 6:30, from butler to budget director, it's Benson. Weeknights beginning at 5, here on Channel 9.
If we lose this place, then you're going back to begging for every single meal. And Mr. Wheeler going to put you in a state home, and I'm going to lose what's left of my family. I'm not going to let that happen.
This week's X-ray subject, Save the Farm. And that was Sally Field in Places in the Heart, one of 3 important new American movies that Hollywood is collectively calling the Don't Lose the Farm movies. The first of the 3, with Places in the Heart, starring Field as a Texas widow, fights to sell her cotton crop so she can hold off the local bankers and hold on to her land. Now, that opened in early September and is followed right now around the country by Country with Jessica Lange and Sam Shepard. We reviewed it earlier, a young farm couple who faced a foreclosure on their government loan. And then opening in November is going to be The River, starring Sissy Spacek and Mel Gibson, in the story of another young couple whose farm is threatened, this one by a plan to flood their valley for a hydroelectric plant. Well, it's a little surprising to get all 3 of these movies at the same time, especially since rural America has not exactly been the most popular subject for movies in recent years. I think that maybe Hollywood has discovered a void in the movies, a void that was opened up with the death of the Western. There used to be a large and loyal audience for movies about basic traditional values like holding on to the land and standing by your ideals, and for basic traditional plots like the young hero or the brave widow facing the evil bankers. But traditional Westerns are dead, killed by big budgets and by young moviegoers who like to see their cowboys and Indians in outer space. Well, these new country films, I think, are modern-day rural Westerns, stories of good and evil, of bravery and defiance, just updated a little, and I think John Ford would have loved them.
Well, now let's recap our reactions to the main movies on this show. We both voted thumbs down on Teachers, the overwritten, predictable high school drama. 2 thumbs up, though, for Country, the Save the Farm drama that Roger enjoyed a little bit more than I did. And we both like John Sayles' new movie, The Brothers from Another Planet. Very funny and very wise. And finally, a split decision on Old Enough. Roger found it credible. I did not.
And that's it for this week. Join us next time when we'll be reviewing more new movies, including Anne Bancroft and Garbo Talks, and Gary Busey and the Bear about football coach Bear Bryant. That's next week, and until then, we'll see you at the movies.